All right, if everybody could take their seats, please. Everybody take your seats, please. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Kristen and Kristen from the Cleveland Food Bank. Give them a nice round of applause, please.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you. I'm Kristen Warzoka. I'm the president and CEO of the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. I'm here with my colleague, Kristen Glazer. Thank you. She's fabulous. What are the chances? 140 staff people, and you've got two Kristens today. But we really are thrilled to be here with you. Dan has been a great supporter of the food bank for many years now. And as we have gotten to know him, he has, from time to time, given us some marketing advice, both direct response advice and also advice on how we can reach out to our high-value donors. And I am amazed that every time Dan gives us a piece of advice, it seems to work. So last year, I had the opportunity, thanks to Dan, to come to this seminar, and I was thrilled to be back this year with Kristen, brought someone with me, and to have the opportunity to address all of you. Clearly, Dan knows how to bring in important people who are passionate about what they do and have been very successful in their careers. And so speaking to you today for just a little while is a great opportunity for us. I want to tell you a little bit about the food bank, what we do, who we serve. Then I'm going to turn it over to Kristen, who's going to tell you a little bit about how we reach out to high-value donors. And some of the things we do are based on advice from Dan. She's going to toss it back to me, and I'm going to tell you why we've got a truck in the parking lot. And I hope that a number of you have had the chance to see it. So have any of you ever had the chance to visit a food bank? Oh, excellent. All right. We've got some folks out there. How about the Cleveland Food Bank? Anybody? I know you've got some folks who've traveled. Okay. So the food bank is the largest hunger relief organization in Northeast Ohio. We operate about 115,000 square foot facility up right off the Shoreway, or 90 East, in Northeast Ohio. In that community food distribution center, we bring in food donations from retailers, from manufacturers, from distributors. We also buy food that we need, and then we get that food out to a network of member agencies. So these are a couple of photos of our main warehouse. We also have a call center upstairs where folks can call in if they're in need, and we've got an on-site kitchen, where this summer we are preparing about 9,000 meals a day for distribution, particularly to low-income children who are in need of summer meals, and also low-income seniors. Our mission is to ensure that everyone in our community has access to the nutritious food they need every day. It's an aspirational mission, and we know it, but we really do believe strongly that nobody in our community should go hungry, and so we work at that every day. We do that in a variety of different ways. I mentioned our food distribution center, but we also have about 900 partners in a 6-county service area. We serve agencies as far east as the Pennsylvania line, Ashtabula County, and as far south as the Mansfield area. Those agencies are food pantries where a client can go in and get a bag of food, schools that may offer an after-school meal to low-income kids along with tutoring or activities of some sort, healthcare providers who serve a lot of low-income families, soup kitchens, all sorts of different agencies work with us to provide food to people in need. We've got 140 staff people, which I mentioned earlier. We have 17,000 volunteers a year who come in and give their time sorting food in our warehouse, making meals in our kitchen. And then we also have a few hundred food donors. Kind of the other group that is incredibly important to us is our financial donors. We have about 40,000 active financial donors a year, and together they contribute about $12 million, which is about 60% of our budget. So financial donors are incredibly important to us. Because we've got donated food, because we've got an amazing group of volunteers who give their time, which is very valuable to us, more than $1 million worth of time a year, and because we've got these great financial donors as well, we're able to operate very efficiently. And so we're proud to say that every dollar donated helps us provide enough food for 4 nutritious meals. So that's kind of how we do what we do. But here's how we distribute the food and who that food goes out to. In addition to all of our partner agencies who can order food, the food that they need from the food bank, and either have it delivered to them or come to pick it up, we also have some very special programs. We've got a delivery program. We've got 16 trucks in our fleet. The newest one is outside. But we also do things like our mobile pantry program, where we take fresh produce, fruits and vegetables, into low-income neighborhoods so that folks have access to the nutritious food they need to be healthy. We also offer a whole string of programs specifically targeted at children. I mentioned earlier that we're making about 9,000 meals a day in our kitchen right now because it's summertime. The reason for that is because kids are out of school. And a lot of kids during the school year really rely on free and reduced price breakfasts and lunches. And so when school ends, they may not know where their meal's coming from. And particularly for working poor parents who still got to get to work in the summertime, they've got the added expense of a couple more meals a day, but they also are worried about providing childcare so they can still get to the job and make sure their kids are safe. And so, their income stays the same, but their summertime expenses rise. And that means that at the food bank, we're a whole lot busier. We also have a program called our Backpack for Kids program. This is a program that we started with a very, frankly, rural county a number of years ago. They called us because they had children in their school district who were coming to school hungry on Monday morning. The fact is that there were food pantries and some other agencies, mostly church-run agencies, down in that community. But it's a small community. It's very rural, a lot of farmers, a lot of folks who are proud. And the parents were embarrassed. They didn't want to go to the church food pantry and run the risk that they might see someone that they knew. And so they were stretching their dollars, and they were rationing meals over the weekend. And when the kids came in on Monday, they didn't have the energy they needed to learn and to grow. And so we started this Backpack for Kids program. And now at that school and in many other schools, in our warehouse, volunteers pack bags of food every week during the school year. It's 6 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for Saturday and Sunday. Those bags are delivered to the school. And kids, when they go out to recess or are busy with other classroom work, somebody will essentially almost slip into the classroom or slip into the lockers and leave a bag of food in each backpack for the kids who are income eligible and most in need. And that way, they can take that food home over the weekend and have access to those meals without the embarrassment or the stigma that comes with being in need. We've learned a couple of things from that program. One is that the teachers are thrilled that the kids are more ready to learn when they come in. They're less distracted. They've got more energy. I know how I feel when I'm hungry. I'm not paying much attention. But the other thing that was a really interesting point that the teachers shared is that over time they realized that the kids were more likely to be at school on Friday because they wanted to make sure that they had food over the weekend. And so that's a program that we've had great success with. A little bit about who we serve. The fact is that about 50% of the clients at all of these partner agencies I mentioned to you, the food pantries, the hot meal sites, the church-run programs, about 50% are children or the elderly. And 1 in 5 children in our 6-county area is food insecure, which is essentially a fancy USDA term for doesn't know where their next meal is coming from all the time. They may have months where family income is a little more steady, but then something happens at home, expenses go up, income comes down, and that family very quickly falls into need. Sadly, Cleveland also has a very high child poverty rate. It seems we're always, competing with Detroit for an award that nobody wants to win, which is highest big city child poverty rate in the United States. And the number of kids in poverty in the city of Cleveland really creates challenges for our community and certainly for those families. This picture right here is kind of a typical family served by the food bank. And I'll tell you why. This is Daryl, and this is his wife, Samantha, and their new daughter, Nova, who was born in 2017. They both work. They live out in Ashtabula County. Daryl is a welder and a truck driver. Typically, he works about 70 hours a week. Samantha is a part-time office manager for a tax business. They have one other child who was in school when this picture was taken. And this was taken when they came in for help to one of our partner agencies. 2017, in some ways, was an exciting year because Nova was born, but it was also a really hard year for this family who typically has been able to get by. Nova was premature. She was born early. She was underweight, which meant that she stayed in the hospital, and it's medical bills they didn't expect. Samantha's father died unexpectedly. He had no life insurance, so there were funeral costs. There were some terrible winter storms in the Northeast, which is where Daryl drives most often. His hours were cut from 70 down considerably for the winter. And then the kicker is that they have a wonderful family pet who was injured in some way, and they had vet bills on top of all of this. And so this family who'd been able to get by, but frankly, were living paycheck to paycheck, suddenly just couldn't cover all of this anymore on his smaller income. And so they went to one of our partner agencies, Plymouth Methodist Church in Ashtabula County, and they got some help. And they visited one of our mobile pantries where we provide free fresh produce to families. And they were so relieved that they could get fresh produce. You know, Samantha was able to puree it, make it into baby food, put it in the freezer, and ensure that Nova had the nutritious food that she needed while she was, you know, trying to gain weight and get really healthy. And, you know, they had not ever come into one of our partner agencies for help before. But a lot of times an emergency comes up, and for a family who's living paycheck to paycheck, you know, very quickly they're making hard choices between food and rent, or food and their mortgage in some cases, or food and health care, and that is exactly what happened to them. Working poor families are something that we're seeing more and more of at the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. How many of you are from Ohio? Some of you are from Ohio? Okay. One of the things that we know is that even with the recession over, we're still seeing a whole lot of need. Now, the clients are different. Many of them are working, but they've gone back to work in lower paying jobs. You know, the fact is about 40% of the workforce right now is working in a job that pays less than $16 an hour. And $16 an hour doesn't sound like a particularly low-wage job to a lot of people. Some people would say it's not a low-wage job, but it's $33,000 a year. And for a family of four, the average income you need to get by to pay your bills without any frills whatsoever, without daycare, is $66,000 a year. So, you know, a family of four, two working parents, would have to put in 177 hours a week making minimum wage to be able to really take care of their family and not need any sort of assistance. And so those folks who are working as cashiers, in retail jobs, servers, nurse assistants, before work, after work, they're frequently coming into the food bank or to one of our partner agencies in need of help. Because of that, we've started doing some really creative work trying to help folks address some of the root causes of hunger so that they can, in the long run, become more self-sufficient. We have begun making new partnerships with other nonprofits that specialize in housing, in employment training, and also in healthcare, because those are the three largest drivers of food insecurity. You know, hunger is a symptom of another problem. It's because you don't have enough money to buy the food that your family needs. And we're excited that we're reaching a lot of people that way and seeing some early success. Another group that we serve is seniors. You know, we've got a lot of folks in our community and frankly across the nation who are living longer, trying to age at home, and running out of savings. This is Phyllis. She is one of my favorite clients. This is a picture taken at our facility with, actually, she lives in Maple Heights, Ohio, which is a little suburb full of bungalows, not too far from here. This is the mayor of Maple Heights, who was at our facility for a special event. I met Phyllis a couple years ago because she was volunteering at a food pantry in Maple Heights. But when I met her, she also shared her story. Phyllis is a widow. She was widowed years ago. Her husband died in his early 50s. He had plans to work for many more years before he passed away. She was a secretary for a firm downtown for decades and worked as long as she could possibly work. They had no children and had paid off their bungalow in Maple Heights. Their bungalow is neat as a pin. But the fact is she was living on Social Security and nothing else. And that Social Security was just not enough to pay her utilities, to put food on the table, and to take care of any emergency needs that came up. And so in addition to volunteering at age 92 at her local food pantry, when she was tight in any given month, she would take home a bag of food as well, and that would help her get by. And she didn't need the help every month. The majority of people, the majority of families, I should say, served by the food bank member agencies come in 3 times a year or less. So I think that's really important to know. And one of the things that is a challenge for us is that the number of, our world is, I should say, our country is aging. And so the number of seniors is growing, and as the number of seniors grows and people live longer, unfortunately, we're going to meet a lot more amazing people like Phyllis who really need our help. So Kristen engages some of our most important donors in really creative ways so that they can help provide the food that our community needs.
Thanks so much, Kristen. So what Kristen just went through was a lot of the reasons why I love coming to work every single day, and it doesn't feel like I'm coming to work every single day, is because our mission is something that's near and dear to my heart. When you see and meet the seniors like Phyllis or the little girls like Nova, it really, really touches you and stays with you. So I have one of the best jobs in the world because all I am is a matchmaker. All I do in working with individuals that are giving generously to the food bank is I am looking at the priorities of the food bank, so our children's programs, our seniors programs, some of our other programs, and I'm listening to things that they are telling me, and I'm just connecting their personal interests and their personal passions with the priorities of the food bank is essentially what my job is. And when I explain it that way, I usually get a better reaction from folks instead of saying I'm a fundraiser. Because the fact of asking people for money, usually people look at me and say they would never want to do that in a million years. So one of the things that we did recently, we thought that we would show you a little case study of something that we just, a program that we tweaked a couple of years ago, and we've seen really good success with it, is called our Summer Match Lead Investor Program. As Kristen had mentioned, summer is our busiest season here at the food bank, and typically we don't see a lot of donations in the summer because a lot of times folks make donations at year end. And because of that, we have a summer match that takes place where we appeal to a group of our most generous donors, our most generous individual donors, not corporations or foundations, but individuals just like you guys. And they help build a pot of money so then we could then appeal to the general public as a match opportunity. And in the past, it's just been a regular kind of, they received a piece of mail, a letter in the mail that said, please give to our summer match and help build our pool, and we would receive donations. And in kind of really listening to a lot of the advice that we've gotten from Dan and from other people, we wanted to make this, we really wanted to elevate the program. So 2 years ago, we switched it and called it our Lead Investor Program in investing in the children. And by doing that, you were actually becoming an investor in the program, which left you with benefits that you can choose from that are only exclusive for our lead investors. So as folks were filling out their remit form, they were able to go down and select any and all of these that they were interested in participating in. So if they wanted to receive periodic updates about their investment in the community, if they wanted to come in for a tour or to have a coffee and conversation with senior leadership, they could do so. If they want special volunteer opportunities with their families because they really want their children to understand the importance of volunteerism and not necessarily, and kind of get them out of the little bubble that they may have possibly been living in, that's also a very important draw to a lot of folks. So we tweaked things, and this was all brand new. This is a portion of our remit slip that we had sent out, and we've seen some really great success with this. We've seen donors significantly making their largest gift ever just from receiving this piece of paper and this appeal to them, which is absolutely great news. It's also making my job a lot easier because one of the biggest challenges I have is Dan had mentioned earlier one of these days, there's going to be no people going to baseball games to watch baseball because people don't want to go out because they want options in their rooms or their homes instead. One of my biggest challenges is getting people to visit the food bank, because once people come actually visit the food bank and see the program, see the facility, see the breadth and depth and scope of what really takes place at the food bank, that's when we see significant increases in their donations. And so when someone doesn't answer my phone call because they don't want to come in for a tour when I'm calling them to thank them for their gift, but they see, oh, I can bring my grandchildren to come volunteer, and they sign up that way, that really gives me a nice opportunity. Something else that we've been doing is really treating our donors, our major donors, as insiders. So they are the ones that are investing in the program. They make up a significant portion of our budget, and they really are like family to us, so why don't we treat them like that? So not just asking them for money and being really good at having our hands out, asking for solicitations, but also thinking about how they feel and how we want to make them feel, and sending them updates, sending them perhaps a cute card from a child, sending them an update at the end of the summer feeding program so that they can see all that they made possible. This one piece that we had sent, these are all items that were included in our periodic updates last year to our lead investors. A lot of folks don't realize that the libraries are a huge partner of ours. Where do children like to go hang out? Where's a safe place? It's at the libraries. And so the libraries are one of our largest partners in regards to our children's programs. And so we had the program coordinator from Cleveland Public Library write a note that we sent to our lead investors, just telling them the difference that these meals have made to their children that they're seeing. So that's one of the opportunities that we've been working on that we've seen really great success with. Also, if someone maybe made a mid-size or semi-major gift to the summer match program, but then they received all of these periodic updates during the summer, we also seen significant increases during the holiday times. And I think that's the biggest piece in regards to fundraising for major gifts. Is it's not just a one-time solicitation, but the biggest part of my job is building relationships with people. Going back to trust, I have to be somewhat likable, but they also need to trust me. People don't like salespeople. People also don't like fundraisers because they always kind of cover their wallet and pocketbook whenever they see me coming. But that's not what it's about. It's about, again, listening to what they're saying. In Dan's regards to differential marketing, that's exactly what we're doing. So when I'm talking to somebody that's interested in our children, I hear that children is a passion of theirs. Maybe they're a retired teacher. I'm really focusing all of my efforts in targeted communications to them. So in their database, under interest, I'm adding children. And whenever an article comes out in the local newspaper about one of our children's programs, I can run a quick report and say who's interested in children's programs. And I can, instead of just relying on my memory, we can then send it out to those kinds of donors. And we've seen really, really big success in that as well. Let me see. Oh, and then the one other piece that I will mention is the summer match is kind of a good platform for us to begin engaging donors. But in regards for true major gifts to be happening, that's not going to be a solicitation through the mail. That's going to be a one-on-one conversation with me, with Kristen, with our board, whomever the right person may be to kind of really build that relationship. And so what we have is also called, in the fundraising world, a moves management cycle, where we move folks through, it's kind of an identification process, qualification. When qualification, I'm really looking for passion and affinity. If a donor doesn't have both of those, then they are absolutely lovely, but maybe not the best prospects that we should be working with at the major gift level. Cultivation, really listening to their interests, solicitation, and then stewardship, and then it kind of just all starts all over again. But due to limited time, I'll kind of cut that part short and bring Kristen back up here.
All right. So one more closing slide before we turn it over. So you saw, hopefully most of you saw our truck out in the parking lot. Did you have a chance to take a look? Excellent, thank you. So that is the newest truck in our fleet. Just added a couple of months ago, 16-foot Isuzu truck for anyone who's interested. And that truck was made possible by Dan through a very generous gift, which we are grateful for. We were in need of a new truck, an additional truck for our fleet. because of the needs in our community. We wanted to be able to get out to provide more after-school meals to children in need, kids who need that healthy food to learn and to grow. We wanted to be able to serve more kids at our summer lunch sites. We've got 106 summer lunch sites this summer. And we also have started doing more, as I mentioned earlier, for low-income seniors, providing meals at senior sites, even helping provide some meals to our kitchen for Meals on Wheels programs. But we couldn't do it without another truck. And so he's made a wonderful gift to get us started, to allow us to order this truck and bring it in and start to use it. But we are looking for a few more generous donors who will step up and stand beside Dan to make sure we can keep this truck on the road doing great work for years to come. I was talking to JD earlier when he was here. So far, that truck's been in multiple spots today, a Salvation Army distributing lunches for kids, also a senior meal site. He's got a couple more deliveries this afternoon, so he may be gone by now. But we really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today. Dan's great partnership, and we'll be around the rest of the day today, all day tomorrow, and Saturday night if you've got questions for us. Thanks for your time.
All right, don't anybody go anywhere. We're going to switch over. We're going to be bringing Winnie up from New Vocations. We just need to get some microphones switched over here.
And where does this go? I'm here. Nice to meet you. Let's see, we'll put this right. Is it better on the front? Oh, perfect. Okay. Let's see.
Good. You're all set.
All right, we're stuck. There we go. Is it on? Is it on?
It's muted right now.
Okay. And if you want to put that up, great.
Go on up. You're all set.
All right. Yeah, that's fine. Great.
Well, I wanted to thank you all so much for inviting me today. My name is Winnie Morgan Nemeth. I am the Standardbred Program Director for New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program. And I really want to thank each one of you that has stopped by and said that you have supported New Vocations through the years, through the Dan Kennedy seminars. We are so grateful for your support, and we have so many exciting things happening. If you turn to page 155 in your manual, you will see a Standardbred racehorse. And if you flip through, Dan has provided some stories and also information on our Lexington, Kentucky facility, which a lot of your support has gone to help us do. So I want to ask a quick question while you're flipping through. How many of you have attended or seen a thoroughbred race? Awesome. Great. Well, and there was a great race on just last Saturday. So, okay, how many of you have watched or attended a harness race? Awesome. And again, a big thanks to Dan Kennedy, who is very avid getting people to the racetrack. That's wonderful. So what I'm going to talk about shouldn't be too foreign to you. So New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program is the largest and oldest racehorse adoption charity in the United States. We were founded in 1992, and we have helped over 6,500 thoroughbreds and standardbreds retiring from the racetrack. Our mission is to rehab, retrain, and rehome retired racehorses, and that's a theme I'm going to continue to talk about. We have locations in Ohio, Kentucky, and New York. We typically have 140 horses in our program at all times between any of the farms that I mentioned. In 2017, we helped 523 horses, we rehabbed 220 horses, and we placed 398 horses into approved homes. In addition, we received 976 applications for people wanting to adopt these horses. So what do we do, and how does the process work? We serve over 40 racetracks throughout the United States. We work directly with owners and trainers in need of aftercare for their thoroughbreds and standardbred racehorses. We work with them as they're retiring from the track to retrain, rehome, and rehab them. To begin, we rehab the horses. Over 50% of the horses coming into our program are coming in with some type of race-related injury. This rehab can take up to 12 months. A donation is requested when the horse comes into the program to cover any of that rehab costs. Once a horse is fully rehabbed and ready to go, we deem him ready to retrain. Each horse is evaluated mentally and physically for their suitability as a riding horse. Each horse receives fundamental training for a variety of riding horse disciplines. Once each horse has been fully assessed and started under saddle, it is professionally photographed and videoed, and then we put it up on our website, which is newvocations.org. There, potential adopters can go see the horses that are available. And our website gets 1 million hits per month. Then we rehome them. All adopters are screened through a detailed application process. Approval is based on horse experience, safety of the facility, quality references, and a signed equine veterinarian statement. Once approved, a horse is chosen. Adopters must sign a 1-year contract stating that that horse will never be raced, will never be sold at auction, or never will be sold to a dealer or any Amish. It also states that a horse can always come back to New Vocations that has come through our program. The donor of the racehorse is then united with the adopter and provided all their information, and they will continue to meet with them and get updates for that 1 year on what their horse is doing. Why support New Vocations? We lead the nation in racehorse adoptions, providing aftercare services for hundreds of horses each year. The majority of horses coming into our program have some type of racing injury. We invest heavily in each horse's rehab and retraining to optimize their success in a second career. In addition to the rehab we provide, the cost of board, training, veterinarian, chiropractic, farrier, and program expenses must be covered. On average, it costs us $3,500 to place one thoroughbred racehorse and $1,500 to place one standardbred racehorse into a new home. We work very hard to keep our adoption fees low for the adopter, with the average adoption fee being $500. So the rest must be made through donations, grants, and fundraisers. How to get involved with New Vocations. No gift is too small, and everyone makes a difference. New Vocations is dependent on our donations to rehab, retrain, and rehome our horses. Donations given to New Vocations help cover the cost of taking in over 450 horses a year. Any donation can be designated to cover a specific equine need, operating costs, or a capital campaign for our Lexington, Kentucky farm. Setting up monthly reoccurring donations, becoming an annual donor, pledging a small percentage of earnings, corporate and foundation giving opportunities are also available. We also offer several large fundraisers, including silent auctions and pledge drives. Two of our most successful pledges have been the Breeders' Cup Pledge on the thoroughbred side and the Breeders' Crown Pledge on the standardbred side. And this is definitely marketing to the affluent donor for people that have horses racing in those two very prestigious events. Owners and trainers of championship contenders are given a chance to pledge a percentage of their earnings back to New Vocations. These two fundraisers have generated tens of thousands of dollars, which goes right back into our aftercare efforts. These pledges are highly publicized, and it is a win-win situation fundraiser for our owners, our trainers, and the horses racing for those that are retired in our program. How we gain our donors. So we are a pro-racing organization, such as the example of our Breeders' Cup and Breeders' Crown Pledge. We bring positive press to our donors donating to the program, and we showcase their aftercare efforts through the support they have given us within the racing industry. We share success stories of what their horses have gone on to do in their new adoptive homes. It is so exciting for our racehorse donors to see the horse that they once spent tons of money, hours, and care go on and being somebody else's riding horse. We have always said, and our motto has been, send us a horse and let us show you what we will do with it. We have offered our services to the leading horsemen in the racing industry for the past 26 years, and we have an effective strategy in place to find large numbers of horses' homes rather quickly. Our New Vocations team is also involved in the horse industry in both the equestrian and racing fields. And combined, our team has over 100 years of horse experience. We take a lot of pride in what we do. Last week, a very high-profile thoroughbred was in the news and received worldwide recognition. That was Justify. He won the Triple Crown by winning the Belmont. We were honored that his connections, his trainer Bob Baffert, his jockey Mike Smith, and all 5 of his owners came out and said they would be donating a percentage of Justify's earnings back to New Vocations. And I want to read a quote from one of his owners, Mike Wallace. And he says, "The China Horse Group and all of our partners take great pride in the care and welfare of our horses. New Vocations exemplifies all we believe in and support in the aftercare of not just ours, but all horses. As a group, we are proud to support New Vocations and its belief. We see a Triple Crown bid as an ideal platform to acknowledge the importance of aftercare," unquote. For somebody like that to come out and publicly endorse New Vocations is huge. And because of Justify's win, many of the horses in our program are going to receive just about anything that they could possibly need this year. It is truly exciting. We have also been blessed by a relationship with Mr. Kennedy. He has been a vital part of New Vocations since 1999. He has donated 101 retired standardbreds to our program. Dan has graciously been a foundation field sponsor and a vital partner in our capital campaign for our farm in Lexington, Kentucky. We are so grateful for his continued support of our program and our services. I want to close by giving all of you an opportunity to come see what we do and see the horses. Our farm in Lexington, Kentucky offers tours by appointment, so if anyone is ever interested in coming to visit, you can find us at newvocations.org, or I will be here through tomorrow night out in the hallway. Thank you.
What did we gain here? Like 7 minutes? Oh, we did gain some minutes. Oh, very good. All right, Q&A. Q&A, 3 people. First 3 to get up there. Yeah, you got to get at the table. Have a candy. Let's see here. We'll break it. No, it's not 18. It's like 7.
No third chair. I'll just stand.
Okay.
Sure.
Somebody took your chair.
All right. So first question. I'm Joffrey, and the first question was you had talked about the. I really got a lot from the ideas about what marks you as a salesperson right up front, and the only question I had was, do you think there's any value in using an approach of saying, look, I'm a business person, but I'm in a position of selling you something, and just kind of putting that out there up front?
No. I mean, look, at some level, we never make it go away, right? I mean, everybody knows you own a business. You're in the window business. You want to sell windows. Everybody knows. But there's no point in rubbing their nose in it or in devaluing our own position. We want to be, and we're going to go there next, by the way, but we want to be above that, as far above it as we can get. And there's no benefit in using the term. You are not going to get points for forthcomingness, if there is such a word. So no. No.
No, not as
That's it.
well. Okay, that's okay.
No.
Thanks.
You made a great point earlier about not pursuing them based on who they are or maybe exactly what they are. And in the past, one of the things that we've studied is even putting at some at the top of our marketing and or addressing straight towards, we're looking for the top such and such and such and such. I'm sure it's a timing issue and or some other issue that makes you choose, hey, I do want to go straight to those people, single moms with kids.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, overt marketing you do because referrals alone can't meet your volume need.
Thank you.
In most cases, right? So referral marketing, like social media marketing, right? Works, but it probably can't get us to the total number that we are seeking. If it could, in most cases, we would do that, right? And it can almost always be increased above where it's at because people don't really invest in it, they don't focus on it, and so forth. The overt stuff is, and we'll look at media tomorrow, but the overt stuff is difficult but not impossible at almost any level of affluence. They will still respond, but it gets tougher and tougher as you climb up to higher and higher incomes and higher net worths, because their first choice is, who do I know who knows somebody they'll vouch for, which is also, by the way, what makes them so vulnerable. But they will respond, right? The call out that you're referring to is either a call out for who or a call out for who this is not for. And sometimes that is more powerful than the call out for who they are. When you make somebody deny that they are not of a certain income level or not of a certain ambition level in our world, not a concerned, if you are not a deeply concerned parent about blank, we're really not for you. They now have to quickly deny, right? To deny it, Yeah. Well, I damn sure am. Right. Yeah. So often that works better than the positive call out. Right?
So basically it's both.
Yeah. Let me do you in your Hotel Madagascar get up, and then we'll.
By the way, I hope you wear your Nehru tomorrow. I think you can bring your green Nehru tomorrow and we'll match almost.
Here's what's sad about that, is I kept those things all these years. Because I had 3 of them and they were expensive. They weren't junk. I kept them all these years. I discarded them late last year. Of course, we're having Back to the Future, Mickey Dolenz night at the Info Summit, where everybody is going to dress up to come to the event. And I now have to go find bell bottoms and a Nehru jacket, which I had up until November of last year. So anyway.
To your point you were just making about positioning and different language, them being referred, I've got referred to a few 3 Comma Club guys, a few billionaires. I interviewed some for my book. I was introduced to the wealthiest person I've talked to just a few months ago by a gentleman that I've talked to for 2 hours, a fellow coach, and he introduced me, and in 10 minutes he emailed back and said, yeah, let's talk, and I'm serving him now, and it's a fruitful relationship. What I'm wondering is, with estate planners and CFPs and succession planners, those are my best 3 referral sources for legacy planning. Would you recommend getting PR first and then sending me on some national show or whatever to have them reach out to me, or be more overt, let's set up a referral relationship?
Well, I wouldn't wait and go hungry. But I mean, look, there is no doubt that your overt marketing, first of all, gets easier when media is in place. when there are media references, where they have seen you, heard you, read you, or even if they didn't, you are seen or heard or referenced in places they value and pay attention to. It greases the skids, if you will. But beyond that, again, when they feel they are discovering, rather than you arriving and knocking on the door, the whole dynamic changes. So we were talking about media this afternoon, but I mean, look, media appearances in real media often change everything. And that's why the cost and the nuisance of them is so worthwhile. Right? Now, it's not to say you can't circumvent it, because you can. It's not to say you can't operate without it, because you can. And it's not to say that you can't be real narrow about it, because you can. I mean, I've not used it much myself, because I've never really been willing to schlep to the studio and and all of that. But and I mean, I've done okay. But you have to ask, would I have done even better if I was seen, often in places that mattered to our avatar customer? And the answer is probably yes. Okay? All right. Candy. There's candy. All right. What are we supposed to do? We are supposed to do you guys need a break? Yes? No? You're sure? Well, I just want to make sure. You okay? No, I don't need one. I just had one. I just laid down in a room and took a nap. I'm fine. But it's up to you guys. Democracy. Do you need a quick break? Yes or no? Okay, good. Wonderful. All right. I am on your page 63. So, who you are perceived to be matters a great deal, but only to your target clientele. It doesn't really matter beyond what you define as a target clientele, be that geographic, be that demographic, be that industry, profession, however it is that you define your market. Who you are viewed as by them matters a great deal. And the things that control that are known to you. None of them are new. One is celebrity. Shouldn't matter. Matters a lot. Authority and credibility, believability and affinity, and exclusivity. So what celebrity does is it gives them their cocktail party story about who they are doing business with. It gives them their cachet item to go brag to people. So again, 90% of my private clients come out of WS Inner Circle, formerly GKIC, formerly Glazer Kennedy, formerly whatever, right? So in that world, I'm a celebrity. No risk of us being mobbed by the paparazzi out here in the lobby because of me. Not going to happen. But in that world, I'm a celebrity. So almost everybody that comes for a consulting day, I don't let them Facebook Live, but they are taking pictures and they are making a video and they are, why? Because there's a cocktail party story to them I mean that figuratively, not necessarily literally. It doesn't have to occur at a cocktail party. But there is a cocktail party story for them of being a client and being there. That helps the entire process. Authority and credibility used to be the most important item. Now it is really just the rationale, the defense for why I've given you my money, for whatever it is I'm giving you my money. I have to defend that to myself and maybe to other people. And authority and credibility now provide that rationale. If there's a price fee issue I have to defend to myself or to others, that's what provides the rationale for the price fee thing. For the most part, in most instances, it does not make the sale. But it's really important to support the sale. Believability and affinity are what really make the sale, which gets to not who you are, but how I feel about you. And exclusivity drives sales because people want what others can't have. And the more affluent they are, the more that is important to them. Otherwise, really, what's the point of making all the money in the first place? Right? That's why rich people are adamantly opposed to socialism. The whole point was to fly on a plane nobody else flies on. That was like the point. The whole point is to own the car nobody else owns. That's the point. So exclusivity matters a great deal when you create it. Disney is even in that business. We'll talk about that tomorrow. So you've all seen this. It's in the Affluent book. It's every bit as valid as it was in the first version of the book. The poorest paid people on earth are generalists. General dentist, family law, John certified financial planner who sits in the basement of your bank and the tellers try and send business down to him with the buttons they wear, and he'll sell you anything. Okay? He's like the lowest paid guy, and he's the easiest one to get killed. Your State Farm guy, right? He's a dead man walking. That's what he is. That business is years, not decades, years away from dead. State Farm's even competing with them with direct insurance buy, right? So generalist, specialist, money moves up a little, right? Certified specialist, somebody who has a flag to wave. Oh, this institution, this authority body has certified me to do X. As soon as we cross the line to expert authority, the money jumps quite a bit. As soon as we jump to celebrity, the money jumps even more. And when you add in affinity, the money jumps even more. Should you doubt it, here's a test. So who can tell me who this is? If he walked in the room, who would know who he is? Anybody? Really? Who? No. Marlon Brando. No. He's younger than Marlon was when he was young. Thinner, too. Anybody think he's like a Harvard professor? Dean of Harvard? Is he a B actor? So nobody knows, right? So just so you know, not that it really matters, right? But he is a guy by the name of Brad Stone, who's probably the world's reigning expert on Amazon and wrote the book, The Everything Store. And you wouldn't know him from Adam's House Cat, right? Are we done? Go ahead. So Brad will be at Info Summit and Info First Summit, giving us the inside scoop on Amazon. Right? Now, so you don't know him from Adam, who can tell me who this is? Just in case. Here's a second one, and here's a third one. Is there anybody who doesn't know who this is? Why? Because they're celebrities, the whole bunch of them. They did the first Celebrity Family Feud episode of the summer. It's a summer replacement show with Steve Harvey, who hosts, I don't know, 600 shows. The guy's, I don't understand how this has happened, but I mean, this guy is like the host of everything. But they did Celebrity Family Feud this week, the opening episode. 18.3 million viewers for Celebrity Family Feud, which, like, nobody watches. I mean, really? 18, because it's the Kardashians. I mean, they're like $1 billion enterprise now, totally based on celebrity. So if you don't think it matters, you're dead wrong, right? So you got to put all the pieces together. Now, becoming a Kardashian is really hard. It's really difficult. This is not an easy thing. They're like, Mama did a great job with that project. Okay? But becoming a Kardashian in a small, targeted market is very, very doable. And that's why they're worth paying attention to. Right? What did they do, and what do they do to perpetuate this celebrity? For example, they're like everywhere. Right? Why would you do Celebrity Family? It's not like you're getting paid. I mean, whatever they're getting paid is nothing. No, it's because they're everywhere. They're in a lot of places you don't see them unless you pay attention to that little subculture place. Until he probably ill-advisedly used the old video. If you didn't pay attention to pro wrestling, you didn't know Trump did pro wrestling. If you didn't pay attention to that, you didn't know he got in a ring and battled it out with Vince McMahon, and they pulled each other hair, and they wrestled. I mean, who would know? Wrestlers. If you don't pay attention to NASCAR, you would know Trump made himself visible at NASCAR, unless you're a NASCAR fan. So they're like everywhere. Kardashians, the mom explains that every day her first job is news cycle. How do we set something in motion that will get them talked about by our target audiences today? Gee, that sounds familiar. Okay. So this is important. Okay. And I confess to you, I find it a big pain in the ass. Okay. But it is important. It is a beneficial piece of leverage, because ultimately, from the get attention standpoint all the way to the choices, who will I do business with, the cocktail party story is a big driver with your affluent clientele. They want to be able to tell stories. This is my guy, my doc, my lawyer, my financial planner, my whatever, is the one you've seen on X. They're the one you've read about in Y. They're the one you've heard on Z. So we have, I don't know if I'm going to have time to play it or not, but so Ted, who's my money under management client that deals only with people who've sold their companies for $20 million or more. So it's a pretty narrow target audience. Started to appear on Stuart Varney, I don't know, a month or so ago, maybe a month and a half ago. Real short, 2 minute, 3 minute. Here's Ted, what do you think about this, that, or the other thing, right? So here's what's happening. Now, you know, how many people are watching Stuart Varney on that particular day, who just sold their company for $20 million, not many. Right? However, here's what it's done. Lead flow, although because he's narrow, most of the leads aren't useful to him because they don't have 20 million, they haven't sold their company, they're whatever. So they get thrown back like fish. Right? But here's what else it's done. The clients, now remember, the more affluent, the more the whole referral thing is vital. The clients have seen it. And they are invigorated. Oh, my guy is the guy who's on Stuart Varney. The calls for copies of his books to give out to other people, up, 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 up. The calls confessing, you know, I gave you 22 million, but I really got another 12. And I think I should bring you the 12 up, 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 up. Right? So whether it brings a new client directly or not really doesn't matter because it's a rising tide that lifts all the boats of what's happening. So Clint, you want to come up and join me for a second? So kind of our reigning, by the way, he's in his own way, he's absolutely as annoying as the little Indian. But so sort of our reigning expert on this whole process is Clint Arthur. And so first of all, I want to tell you one of the things you see in a movie night tonight, if you didn't pay attention, is how much of your documentary, what are we showing? We're showing highlights.
We're showing highlights.
Yeah.
So it's an 82-minute film. We'll probably see
20.
20.
I'm sure he'll be happy to arrange for you to see the whole thing somehow, if you would like to. But it's brilliantly done. So you do want to see it tonight because it is done as a behind-the-scenes, reminds me of what MTV used to do, the behind-the-scenes documentary of this guy and what he's doing to create media. And it looks like it might not have been done as a promotional video, which is really important. It goes back to how do they see you, right? Overt promotional video, they think about one way. A documentary, they think about another way. So whatever little pieces of it you're going to show, you should show the thing with you in the shower. It's the weirdest and most disconcerting part of the whole thing, but it's also really effective. It takes you a day to get it out of your, but, you know, it's like, oh, geez. I woke the next day, I'm thinking, oh, no, it's still in my head. But it's very effective because it makes the whole documentary thing real, right? It's very clever. So you want to see this thing tonight. But so I got a couple questions for you. So one, just talk a little bit about, you can pick up where I was. Talk a little bit about what you see, self and others, a difference that happens when, if in a local market, local media occurs, or in a national market when national media occurs.
First of all, I want to say this has been my complete focus since March of 2014 when I wrote down on a page in my notebook at Super Conference that our number one job as entrepreneurs is to raise our status in the eyes of customers and prospects. That's what he said. And I've just been focusing on status and raising status. And local media, national media, you still have to redeploy the media to your customers and prospects. That's the only difference. And there's a lot of times when people will see somebody on TV, on ABC TV in Omaha, Nebraska, and they won't know any difference between that and ABC Nightline. And I know that because one of my clients was on ABC TV in Omaha, Nebraska, and he was trying to get reviews for his products from an Amazon reviewer. And he sent the product, which was a smartphone waterproof case, to this reviewer. And he said, I was just on TV on ABC, and you can watch the clip here. And the guy wrote back, hey, I was on ABC TV too. And that guy was on Nightline, and my client was on ABC Omaha, Nebraska. So there's a lot of affinity there that you can get.
So think about the point. So this is what we're doing with TED, the redeployment of the media. So everybody in the list gets emailed, oh, he's going to be on tomorrow. Tune in, watch, tell your friends. Everybody gets the he was on. If you missed it, here's where you can go see it. Then, gee, here it is on a DVD sent to you, so you can give it to somebody with a copy of the book. A lot of people, I think, they do the same thing with books, by the way. They think that the event itself is going to
change their life.
Yeah, it's going to be the miracle.
Yeah, I'm going to be on Oprah,
producer,
and that's
right?
going to be it.
Yeah. So I had 3 clients over the years on Oprah, and which I told them all I would have told her to, because, well, she was impossible.
You wouldn't have gone?
No,
No.
not on your life. That thing you were signing was like a phone book.
Oh.
And like you're signing, you're not even going to say you were there. Well, so I'm working for free for Oprah. Where's my, so I would have told her to stick it, by the way. And I told them the same thing. But I had 3 clients on Oprah, over the years. One was utterly unprepared to capitalize on it. So that was like sticking your hand in a bucket of water and pulling it out. It was all over, like this. You're on Oprah, but so what, right? The other ones were better prepared, but so restricted in how you could deploy that it was marginally beneficial, right? And in reality, for both of them, because of the nature of their businesses, they'd have been better off being on Good Morning Omaha and being pretty much unrestricted in the redeployment than they were getting on Oprah.
The other advantage is that when you go on Good Morning Omaha, they'll basically ask you exactly the questions that you tell them to ask you, where Oprah's not going to. Oprah's going to ask you whatever she wants to ask you in the moment. But even still, even if you are on Oprah, and even if she does ask you exactly the questions you want her to ask you, you're still looking for golden needles in the haystack. And you still have to redeploy those videos to your target market of customers and prospects, no matter what it's going to be. And you can also take frame grabs. Like, when I was on Iron Chef America, I also own a gourmet food company called 5 Star Butter Company. And there was a frame in the video of me, and it said, Iron Chef America, butter expert, Clint Arthur. And I took that frame out of the video, and I made that my business card for many, many years. And I guarantee you, no other guys selling butter were handing out business cards that looked anything like that. And that's all about appearing different from your competition in the eyes of your customers and prospects.
Yeah, because the Iron Chef thing has long legs as long as the show stays on the air or even in reruns.
Or as an evergreen video on YouTube.
Yep.
It's still there.
Yep.
You type in Clint Arthur Iron Chef America, and you can watch Battle Butter.
And I will make the point again, but look, there's real media and there's all the other media. And the leading real media is still real TV. And look, that's why the Kardashians are doing Celebrity Family Feud, even though they got 10 million people watching them on YouTube, because real TV is real TV.
That's why the President of the United States continues to go on Fox and Friends and do interviews with anybody that he likes, because he understands the power of this, and he's just an entrepreneur trying to get his message out and make a difference.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you, it's 2 other things I want to ask you about. So the second thing I want to ask you about is the manufactured celebrity, leverage. I'm not saying fake.
Right.
It's beyond fake, but it's not entirely real either. It's in this gray area, right? And so you've done it with celebrity places, right? So talk a little bit about that.
That came out of this event 2 years ago or three years ago when you talked about the place theory. It was the one-to-many salesmanship lecture, and you talked about place theory. Where you speak makes a difference. And I've been wanting to speak at Harvard for a long time. For years, I've been wanting to speak at Harvard. But when I heard him talking about that, I said, I'm going to freaking make that happen. And I did. We had 3 events at the Harvard Faculty Club. This year, we're having one at the Harvard Club of Boston. And I also do one at the NASDAQ Stock Exchange in New York City. I've done it at West Point. I spoke at West Point. I didn't say I spoke to the cadets, but I did have an astronaut who graduated from West Point, Buzz Aldrin, with me on the stage when I spoke at West Point. I tried to make it as real as I could, considering the fact that all I wanted to say was, I spoke at West Point. And it's a very impressive thing. It came from you. Every time I come here, I've heard you say, with great effect, when I was speaking in the Peter Lowe Success Seminars, in the arenas, with Colin Powell, General Schwarzkopf, Donald Trump, George Bush, that I called that million-dollar positioning. And sitting in this room, there's probably many millions of dollars that we have given to him as a result of those statements that you made with great effect, no doubt.
I mean, look, there's enormous value in a claim to fame statement, a claim to fame picture, or both. And it doesn't have to be entirely real, right? I would point out mine were real. You had to go manufacture yours, but that would be unkind. But I mean, look, you know, it's like the guy this morning it's like Seppala who sued Cambridge Analytics and won. See, that's a biggie. That's a biggie right now. Now, it will be short-lived because we'll move on and people won't remember. Harvard, that's long-lived. NASDAQ, that's long-lived because it's still, people see it every day, right? And so, see, you can buy, rent, and manufacture the claim to fame or claims to fame and have them be every bit as deployable as if they happened organically, right? I mean, that's the theory behind advertorials, right? Halbert always said, look, if whatever newspaper your people read, Wall Street Journal, Investors Business Daily, your local newspaper, when newspapers were a big deal, if they decided to send out their #1 reporter with the mission of doing a totally favorable 4-page story about you, and they wrote a great story about you, and the photographer took great pictures, and they ran it in that newspaper, wouldn't that be great? All right, that would be great. It ain't going to happen. Right? But you can just pay to have it done, run it once in the newspaper, and reproduce the tear sheet forevermore. And who knows the difference? Who cares about the difference? In effect, there is no difference. None. Zero. There's no difference in how you can use the Harvard thing and how you would use it if you actually had been paid to go speak at Harvard to Harvard professors, right? You'd be using it in all the same ways.
The only difference is that we deliver the assets to the clients. I recently talked to a guy, he said, oh, Clint, I was thinking about you. I just spoke at Harvard last week. I'm like, cool. Send me a link to the video. There's no video. There's no photos. It's students in shorts and T-shirts sitting in a room, and he doesn't have any pictures of him actually doing it. He can only talk about it. And when I do it, I set it up so that my wife, who is my secret weapon, who has produced movies with Francis Ford Coppola and Oliver Stone and Steven Spielberg and Jim Cameron, she produces all the videos for us. And that's why they look so great, and that's really what you really want. In addition to being able to say, hey, look, I talked about that at Harvard, you want to use that video as a marketing tool on your website so that people can see you speaking at Harvard or at West Point. And to the point of staged photo opportunities, and yeah, this is staged. It's an opportunity. Buzz Aldrin talked about how he did staged photo opportunities when he spoke to us at West Point. Jeff was there. He took the first selfie photo when he was doing a spacewalk, and he did staged photo ops with his dad, who was a colonel in the Air Force when he was just starting out, in a fighter jet. So these types of things go on all the time, as you well know, and can be used to great effect by making what you do more available to the people who you can help. If your people who you can help don't know that you can help them, then what's the point of you being able to help them? You need to be able to position yourself as a high-status person who's worthy of them giving you a lot of money so that they can get a great result from you helping them.
Yeah, and understand, so what you just, AI worthy of giving you a lot of money. So that worth now is not, he ain't any more useful to us because he spoke at Harvard than if he spoke at, Cleveland Community College. That doesn't automatically make his services worth more, but the status of having done it makes the fee elastic. It affects what they are willing to pay. Okay? Look, when we do skincare and hair care stuff in TV infomercials, what do we have to have? We have to have the hairstylist to the stars, the skincare person to the stars. It doesn't make their glop any better than if a star never bought it, but if a Kardashian bought it, price goes out the window, demand goes through the roof. Why? Because everybody wants to say, I'm using the same glop that the Kardashians use. That's why. It's the cocktail party story aspect of all this that cannot be underestimated.
When I was at a Roy H. Williams event, I heard a story about an Airbnb, and all they did was change the description of the Airbnb, and it got higher ratings. And the point of it was that the marketing of the experience actually changes the experience for the buyer. Better marketing, and the person gets a better experience. And I think that price, of course you would agree, price is part of the marketing. High price is part of your marketing mix. And by having a higher price, you're having better marketing, being able to command the better price, you're able to get the value to be perceived to be higher and a better experience for the client. That, as a doctor, that could mean life or death. To get the right patient to come in and pay you a lot of money to do the brain operation will save their life. For a financial advisor, that means creating a legacy for a family, whereas otherwise it would be squandered or lost.
Well, there's a lot to be said for this whole list, celebrity, authority, all of it. One of the things it gives you beyond the selling aspect is it gives you compliance. Right? Is now your customer, client, patient is more likely to use as directed than they would be if you did not have those things.
From the excitement.
Well, because of your status, yep. Right? And you now have power with them, even to the extent that, gee, they might fire me as a patient, client, customer, And so this affects compliance. What does that affect? Often it affects referrals because they get better results. So when you invest in this, in manufacturing this, having it manufactured for you, or some combination thereof, the ROI is not as direct as, we ran an ad and we spent $600 and we got $1,200 bucks back, whoopee, whoopee, whoop. It's not that clean, but it is there because it affects everything. And the last thing I wanted to ask you about very quickly, because it affects everything too, is outright renting the celebrity attachment or buying it.
Celebrity attachment is my favorite thing. And, who saw the celebrity attachment pages in the magazine that I included in only a few of you? I mean, people love those pages, and they're easy to consume, and they're interesting and different. And, the whole part about celebrity attachment is you get to tell stories. Like, when I met Eli Manning recently, I said, "What's the most important thing you ever learned?" He said, "Be nice to people," without even missing a beat. Mike Tyson, on the other hand, I said, "What's the most important thing you ever learned, champ?" He said, "Be humble." You get different messages from different celebrities. And having the ability to tell those stories is just fun because everybody loves stories. And having celebrity stories are the best kinds.
And they can all be rented. You understand, these people, at least at certain times of their lives, they're rentable, just like your astronaut. I mean, that's what they are. That's what they do. But the deployable media you get from the one-time cost has long legs. And often, they're rentable for less than you would think. The direct response industry has screwed that up a little bit. But like I have a client right now I'm doing a campaign for. They have the #2 infomercial right now on the air, and it's hosted by Larry King. Okay? Now, they've paid Larry to do the show, but of course wisely got the rights to use stills of the show and photo and quotes from the show for all other media. So the only cost, investment risk in this is Larry could drop dead at any moment. And, I mean, he's been embalmed for the last 12 years. And so, there's a little risk of Larry becoming ill-usable to you because he's dead. But they got him at the right price because Larry wants to work. Well, I guarantee you everything I'm doing for them right now, direct mail, print, everything, we will have a bump because we can make it from Larry King with Larry King's picture on it versus not being able to put as seen on this show with Larry King on it. So the dividends from the one-time rental, if you will, and a little royalty to Larry, the dividends are great if you really know how to leverage it.
Do you think there's any other factor involved in the value of it aside from the fame of the person? Like, for example, a photo with OJ. Is that a good photo?
Well, I've never figured out how to use it. I've got one from 2 weeks before the... I suggested to Cutco knife... Oh, what? Too soon? Come on. And they were not, excited.
No.
Right? So I'm not sure when or how that has a use. Murder's a tough thing, to subsequently monetize.
Yeah.
Right? But almost anything else
Yeah.
can be.
I was getting a lot of flack about my Trump photo, so luckily Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton were at my daughter's college graduation, and I made it my business to go down and get that photo with Hillary, just so I could balance it out.
Well, so I got
Just to balance it out.
So I got to dump you, but I will refer you to a point I made this morning. You got to know who your high-value clients are, and you got to be okay with pissing off ones who aren't high-value clients. All right? Now, you may not have the mix I got.
Right.
That's okay. And if you don't, that's a good decision. If your mix is pretty much like mine, then you wasted a lot of time and energy, and you'd be better off not using it. All right? So, I mean, look, we got 5 or 6 people in this room who hate Trump, by the way. I know who they are, right? Yeah, I mean, they can't stand him, right? And they hold their nose and they come anyway because it's me, right? One of them's a titanium member. But you saw the hands. You saw the hands.
Sure.
So, Everybody else has got their red hats somewhere. You know. All right, buddy. You will see him at dinner, where he will do a more complete download on this, and you will see his documentary tonight at movie night, and both are well worth hearing. Thank you
so much.
You are welcome. So, the main message from all this that I would have, and I would use the word selling only amongst us girls, but the message is stop selling stuff. Start selling you. Whatever stuff you got is replicatable, commoditizable, whether you think it is or not. And if there's no provider/personality preference, it's definitely already commoditized and easily available. So if all you wanted was a seminar on advertising, marketing, and selling to the affluent, I'm sure you know. Type it in. You could have stayed home. God knows how much stuff there is on YouTube for free. God knows how much content there is available in printed form for free. But I assure you there's more of it than you would ever want to consume. There's a guy at last year's event who drove to the event. He said he on the road for 3 days and 3 nights. He really wanted the time anyway. But every night he watched me on YouTube. And he had watched like 90 some odd hours of me on YouTube by the time he got here. And so first thing I think is that's great. And then I think, well, I wonder how many people we don't have in the room because they can watch 90 hours of me on YouTube. I don't know that I'm totally excited about that. But if you didn't have any preference for provider, right, then you can get everything you want about just about anything for free. So we can't sell stuff and prosper. You got to sell you or your entity. So I'm not sure now what of your pages I'm on. No. I'm nowhere near there. Maybe 63. Thank you. So one of the reasons that them buying into you is so important is because, perhaps ironically, the more affluent the client, the more nervous they are about buying and entering into relationships because they have more to lose. Poor people aren't really worried. Poor people are very, very bad prospects for burglar alarms. I mean, my joke in 1978 was I used to leave the apartment door unlocked because I figured a burglar would feel sorry for me and might leave some money on the table when they came in to rob the place. I mean, so who buys a really high-priced security system? Somebody with a lot of valuable shit in their house. That's buy it if they got IKEA furniture and no jewelry. They're not even buying the Ring doorbell, which, by the way, I can do this. Please understand. And if you got one at home, and I have nothing against whoever the hell it is behind the Ring. They're owned by Amazon now, aren't they? I think a guy sold to Amazon. Huh? Yeah. So you understand this is a really dumb product. Do you guys all know this? Understand this? The Ring doorbell that allows you to pretend to be home, which they just sold the company, as he said, for $1 billion. Okay? The company's never made a dime, probably never will make a dime, who knows, but $1 billion. Nice cash on. This is a really dumb product because the thing itself is distinctive. If you have a Ring doorbell on your door, I know it. It's a distinctive thing, and it says Ring on it. It's got the logo on it. Right? So if I want to rob your place, I want a place that's got a Ring doorbell. That's what the pros are driving around looking for. Because all they got to do now is come up, not tap it, and bang on the door. If you don't come to the door, I know you're not home. It's the gift of the century to professional burglars. Because if they ring it and you talk to them, you could be in, Nairobi. That's the whole point of the thing. But if you don't ring it and you bang on the door like as loud and annoying as you possibly can be and nobody comes, we know you're not home. This is a stupid product. If you have it on your door and you are here with no one at home and you think you can pretend to be home, it'll only fool amateurs. So I hope you don't have anything valuable. But look, poor people don't buy that product. Okay? So anxiety about choices, purchases, and relationships goes up with how much people have to lose, and not just money, but face. So a lot of people who lost a lot of money in Theranos. It sounds like a ton of money to us, $100 million. But first of all, it's tax deductible. Secondly, if you're worth $3 billion, $4 billion, $5 billion, $100 million, ain't that much. Nobody probably likes to lose $100 million, but it's probably, I don't know, like me losing 100,000. I don't like the idea, but it wouldn't kill me. But they really don't like to be the people who lost $100 million. That they don't like. And that's going to make them real hard to get money out of now the next time. Now, people have short memories. But so they're worried because they know people take advantage of the rich. So that causes a certain, I don't know if I can trust this person. I'm probably being overcharged just because I'm rich. I'm probably, etc. They believe you are only out for their money. It comes back to the question about, should I just fess up and say I own a business and I'm here to sell you stuff? No. As irrational as it may be, they want to think you are there for a multiplicity of reasons, not just to take their money. And they want to think you like them, respect them, and want to do good things for them. But they know most people are just out for their money. They have more to lose financially, but they really fear embarrassment. Nobody wants the cocktail party story of I was dumb enough to give Madoff $20 million. The $20 million might be irrelevant. The negative cocktail story is very relevant because they have a self-concept that we talked about earlier that they want to reinforce. When you reinforce the self-concept, you win. When you imperil the self-concept, you lose. And they know secretly they have vulnerability. They know they don't have the time, or in many cases the knowledge, to thoroughly research what it is they are about to pay money for. They know they're not going to read the fine print in the 300 pages. Guy's got crap to do. Private jet, engines running, burning fuel, girlfriends waiting. Got to go. Right? They know they have this vulnerability. So they are actually more anxious than anybody. So there's 9 gates. I'm on your page 64. To affluent client commitment. Here's what they're really trying to figure out. The more of these boxes you can tick, and the more ways you tick them, celebrity, credibility, believability, affinity, the better off you are. So there are 9. Number 1, is this person for real? Well, what does that mean? It means, are they authentic? Are they telling the truth? Do they have a story that resonates with me? Then, are they knowledgeable? Are they competent? Can they actually do what they say they are going to do? How are we going to establish that? Appropriateness. After we've had a conversation, after we've broken bread together, after I've seen who your other clients are, do I think we're going to get along? If this is going to be a relationship, is it going to be a good relationship? Are you listening, or are you just selling? Can you be relied on? Right? So like, if they're late for the appointment to get your money, what do you know about what happens after you get their money? They're going to be late on everything. That's why often, even in a local market, we'll have a practice operator FedEx the shock and awe package so it arrives at the prospective client patient's house the next day for sure, and they're coming in 3 days later for an appointment. So the shock and awe package goes from Kansas City to some changing place to Memphis, back from Memphis to, well, if you mailed it, it probably gets there in a day or two. Yeah, maybe, probably, but not for sure. And we want to demonstrate, oh, look, these people are serious about this. Am I making the best choice? More affluent, more and more care about that. And am I paying a fair price for value? And finally, the urgency question, is there a reason to pull the trigger on this now rather than waste a lot of time doing it later? Now I've lost my notes. Ron, what time are we supposed to finish? 5:15. Great. Perfect. Okay. So the last thing I want to talk about is brand. I'm on your page 65. So, as you probably know, I am not in favor of buying brand. I believe you build brand as a byproduct of direct response along the way. I have a book about it. That does not negate the power of brand. It doesn't make brand all-powerful either. Being with New York Life helped Sid with Carla. But she wouldn't go chase down New York Life on her own and ask them to send an agent. So Sid helps New York Life with Carla. The two are necessary, not one. Most people mess up brand because they do stuff that's incongruent with the brand. So if you are going to have a brand, the most important thing you need to know about it is everything's got to match. And I'm not just talking about the colors on the business card and the colors on I'm talking about everything. I mean, any incongruence is trouble. And much incongruence can destroy the entire thing. Panera Bread makes a big deal out of clean food. This is their story of this moment, is we serve clean food, meaning it's natural, it's organic, it doesn't have pesticides, on and on and on. This is their ad campaign. This is their signage campaign. This is what they're all about at the moment. And for 3 weeks, there's been a little sign at the cash register, I presume in all the Panera Breads. It's in my local Panera Bread. You're nodding, you've seen it, and it says, whatever it says, it says it better than I'm about to say it, but it says, we don't have the butter, or is it butter or sour cream? Cream cheese. We don't have the cream cheese we normally serve that is clean. So we have substitute, parentheses, dirty, cream cheese that will give you instead, or you might want to get your bagel with jelly. Well, this is not a good solution to this problem because it is brand destructive. Therefore, at whatever cost you had to go to get the real stuff, or no bagels, sacrifice the revenue from the bagels so you don't even have to mention, no, we're out of bagels. That would be better than this, because what other dirty food are you serving me? Now it got in the way. McDonald's, which is supposed to be fast food, that's the only reason people go there for fast and cheap. People don't go there for good. Right? They lost that ship sailed a long time ago. And they let Wendy's bully them into this fresh beef on the quarter pounders by making fun of them. But none of their other burgers use fresh beef. They have just called attention more than existed before to the fact that you're eating frozen stuff that's been frozen for, a century and was shipped here from Canada and Botswana and every place. They've called attention to it. They let themselves get bullied into being incongruent with their brand. So brand identity carries a price. The price is attention to total congruence. Appearance, language, product, price, process, place, everything. You can't have the circular drive and the limousine and the chauffeur and the fountain and then have folding chairs at the kitchen table inside where you meet with the client. You can't do it. Right? And any version of it is really trouble. So the same principle applies. I'm jumping to your page 65. So I want to make sure I do this. So you will see at movie night tonight, you'll see a clip of a documentary about Tiffany's and the jewelry people. And you will see the importance of brand congruity in what has built the Tiffany's business. And it's important for anybody, for Clint, for the local dentist, for anybody. So before we end, let me take you through the brand elements to square the circle with. One is a clear, definitive core position. Is a brand doesn't much matter if it's not attached with great clarity to who we are, what we're about, what we stand for, etc. So a clear and definitive position, which of course, remember, will offend, annoy, and repel as well as it attracts. Number two, dramatic differentiation. You got to be different than everybody else they are considering, and it's got to be part of your brand identity. Last, affinity with your target market. The reasons they will embrace you and not the others. So, High Point University, who I worked with a lot last year, has gone to what I call differentiation on steroids. So, the conversation we had is that they had drifted from any clear, definitive differentiation. 10 years ago, when Nito went into that place, the advantage he immediately created was turning a dump into the Taj Mahal. Right? My description was, if Walt Disney came back from the dead and made a college, this is what it would look like. All right? And everything is color coordinated and brand identity coordinated, and there's really impressive buildings. There's the, George Ross talks about it with Trump, there's the one thing in every building that is the holy cow. You know, like the Student Center has these giant escalators that look like you're at a high-end mall somewhere. Okay, so he did all that. The problem is everybody caught up. Okay? And a lot of the colleges didn't go all the way, but they got one Taj Mahal building. You know, our joke at High Point is everybody came, visited you, and they discovered golf carts. They all went home and ordered golf carts and painted them the colors of, they figured that out, right? So that advantage started to disintegrate. So what's the advantage they can't take? Right? They can't replicate at High Point University. What advantage had they drifted from the furthest? Nito. That's the advantage they can't duplicate. Is the president of the university who has this incredible immigrant entrepreneur life story, personally teaches the life skills classes, is integrally involved with what's going on here. So if you are an entrepreneur and you visit 8 colleges, you get this instantly, but it was being dissipated. With it is, so this is the college where kids actually come out the other end able to do something other than move back home. Right? They are ready with life skills. Right? That's the story. So we did everything. So the latest, this is it now, the premier life skills university. And the heavy part of the pitch, inside front cover, life skills. What does that mean? Okay? Here's 2 pages from him, right out of his speech, about who we are, what we do. Okay? Here's success. Here's preparing graduates for the world as it will be. 96% employment or grad school placement within 6 months of graduation. Okay? They are, so this is all about coming out of this place ready to be successful in life. Not what happened, just, oh, I went to college. Isn't this wonderful? It's about character. Now, it turns off people, right? But the ones it resonates with, it really resonates with. It's an interesting little piece of inside baseball about High Point. It's one of the things that drove to this, is so they rather uniquely do as many college visits, parent, one-to-one tour. So you go there, you go by yourself, golf cart, one person runs you around the college. However, that requires so many people taking people on tours that they use students to be the tour guides. Say, let me get this straight. We're making a $150,000 sale with an amateur salesperson who's doing the tour between classes and is worried about not being late meeting his girlfriend behind the athletic center tonight at 5. This is who we have making $150,000. I don't like this plan, right? Pros, right? Well, we can't have pros because we need too many of them. The other thing they do is 2 to 3 times a year, they do a big mass pitch. Tons of people come. And so contrary to their belief system, the conversion rate on the big mass group is higher than it is on the one-on-one tours. Why? Because, well, the mass group hears Cobain for 90 minutes, telling the life skills, character, story. Of course, of course. So the conversion rate's actually higher with the group than it is with the one-on-ones. The difference is him and this message. So I'm going, we need him every place we can put him, and we need the message. Strong. No ambiguity about this at all. You send your kid here if you want his character built. You send this kid here with language like you spent all this time trying to ingrain values in this kid. Do you really want to drop him in Stanford, you know, the socialism indoctrination camp of the West Coast, and have him go to gender diversity classes? Or do you want to give him to us? And we'll reinforce the what do you want to do here, right? And so every place, change the tour, video at Cobain. So if they are there one-on-one, they stop here, they see Cobain, they stop here, they see Cobain. The message in here is all right out of the speech. So this brand thing has to be with great emphasis, great clarity on these three things. What the hell are you, all right? What's your differentiation, and who are you for? So we are for a certain parent, and we are not for a bunch of other parents. Right? We now have a quiz, the appropriateness test, for the parent to take, and a different one for the kid to take to see if they should even come look. If you flunk the appropriateness test, don't come. Self-scoring, and then there's language that says, hey, based on your score, we're not the place for you. And here's why. And you should probably go somewhere else. Well, nobody wants, we don't want to tell anybody they can't come. I said, yes, you do. You ought to be running tours with less people who are perfectly appropriate to be here. Fourth, everything Clint just talked about. So the fourth brand element has to be status enhancement. They have to be elevated somehow in status by being your customer, client, or patient. They have to get importance by that association. And affinity. Right? You've got it right here. And I'm going to have to start working off of it because I lost my backup sheet. It's on page 67 and 68. And I've lost my sheet. I don't know what happened. Give me yours. Yeah, I need a book. I've made a mess. Thank you. So number 5 is security. All right? Your brand has to be a Linus security blanket for people. Now again, that alone won't cut it. But in concert, it works. By buying under your brand umbrella, I have to be safer, more secure than if I bought outside of your brand umbrella. Tricky part is that can't be Grandpa's Buick, which was a great car, but nobody wants Grandpa's Buick. So it's tricky. But I have to feel safer because of the brand identity than not having the brand identity. Long-standing consumer brands have this ingrained, right? And the only way it even gets damaged a little is if they have a recall of substance and people are sick and dying and so forth, okay? Campbell's has actually had 5 in 15 years and hardly anybody's noticed because Campbell's has such an entrenched brand identity. Chipotle only needed it once, and they may never recover. Disney had alligators eating children. This should do some damage. Not to Disney, 0 impact. Media, talked about it, late night comedians for about a week, and And nobody like canceled their reservations because there's alligators eating children. Because it's Disney. Most other places, it would have been kind of a problem, you know. This past year, they had a big mosquito problem. And usually there's no mosquitoes at Disney. They got some kind of killer chemical that nobody else has. But apparently there was a kind of mosquito that this shit didn't kill. And the reason you knew is because they put mosquito shit in every room with a sign. Here's free mosquito shit. Cover yourself with this stuff. Well, that actually is kind of like the Panera. We don't have the clean food stuff. But Disney's brand is so strong, everybody goes, oh, okay, smear some shit on and off we go, right? So that's because we trust them. They have a high trust brand identity. People feel totally safe there turning their kids loose. They're letting them go. Disney, nothing bad can happen. Hardly any other place will they turn that same kid loose. So that has to be part of it. Okay? 6, identification devices, symbolism, the Tiffany's box, which will be talked about in the documentary you see tonight. The golden arches, right? What people know is it's all going to be the same everywhere in America, and it probably won't poison you fast. Okay? Okay? So Trump says he likes McDonald's because he knows it's going to be the same every time he gets it. Right? And that's part of their brand. And it won't kill you quick. It will kill you slow, but it won't kill you quick. I don't think they've ever had, certainly not in recent history, a big poison people scandal where everybody was getting sick, like Chipotle had. Right? They figured that out. So brand symbols. There's a great story, Murray Raffel. If you don't know Murray, you can Google him. It's Raphel, I think. Murray's an ad guy. And Murray's family owned clothing stores in Atlantic City. And they always advertised in the newspaper. Every weekend, some kind of sale, you know. And they would advertise in the newspaper. And the famous story is the newspaper left out the logo, the name, the address of the advertiser. So the whole ad was there with no store identity in it at all. Same response as if it had been there. Everybody knew what Murray's ads looked like. It was part of their brand. Most of the people didn't even notice the identity wasn't there. In they came for the Father's Day sale or whatever it was. That's how the symbolism, the way, the format, the look, the type fonts, everything was so clear to their audience that you could leave the identity out and still get the same response. That's important. And 7th, the clear what you aren't position. It is as important, it's very much now a part of High Point, is what we aren't. Why you should not send your kid here. Why this is not right for a kid who is interested in X, Y, and Z, right? The not position is extremely important. People are able to understand the not position easier than they can understand often the for position. And sometimes it costs you retention after conversion, depending upon the nature of your business, but it's a good price to pay because the retention of the high-value customer goes up. Right? The retention of the low-value customers goes down because they discover, oh, this isn't for me, too late. They have, by the way, High Point consistently has one of the lowest freshman dropout rates because the right kid is put in there and the wrong kids are not put in there. So when you think about brand, you got to think about all these elements. And I'm for brand, but I'm not for buying brand. So we are at 5:15. We're supposed to stop. I remind you of a couple quick things. You have dinner with Clint. You have movie night, which Ron is going to run for you. And you have 3 things to see, all of which are valuable for you to see them. It would be unwise of you to skip. The bar will be there afterwards. The bar will be there tomorrow night. You can sleep at home. Okay? It would be dumb to be here and pass. We're starting tomorrow morning at whatever time your agenda in your manual says. And we are starting with Adam taking you inside the $100,000 sale process now being used at Forbes Books. It would be unwise to be late for that. Noon tomorrow is the cutoff date for bidding on silent auction items. It would be ever so nice if you were generous and also didn't wait. So tonight would be a good time to take care of your bidding. The big items, you know, your minimum bids are much lower than what you would pay for the same services retail. They're much lower. So take a look, because if you have interest in any of those services, this is the bargain way to get them. We've had a good day, I think. Off you go to dinner. Here's your book.